So hello everyone and welcome back to a Spring and a Spring Boot series. So today we are going to discuss about @lazy annotation. So it is used to indicate that a bean should be lazily initialized. So this can be useful in a scenario where you want to optimize the resource uses by delaying the creation of a bean until it is required. Or you can say that you want to be get the bean object created on a demand basis. So how @lazy works? Basically, there are like normal initialization and a lazy initialization. So when a normal initialization, it is the default like process of a Spring Boot application. So basically, the Spring Boot context is going to initialize the object like you can say normally or like eagerly. So by default, the Spring initializes all the beans eagerly when the application context has been created. And there is one another initialization process that is so like that is a lazy initialization. So when you annotate a bean with lazy, it tells a Spring context to defer the initialization of a bean until it is explicitly requested, or we can say that to create the bean object on demand, right? So the important thing to be noted is that remember that the lazy initialization is not suitable for all the scenarios, and it depend on the specific use case where it is provide any performance benefit. So basically you have to take care that if you do a lazy loading, then you will not be able to find out the error in your Spring Boot. So basically by default Spring Boot work with the eager loading, because in the starting it required to create the bean object by default, right? So in a very specific scenarios or a demand, you need to use @lazy, right? So now let's move ahead and let's see the purpose of using @lazy notation in a Spring Boot. So basically there are some purposes like you can say that a deferred initialization. So by default, the Spring initializes all the beans eagerly during the application context startup, right? So however, in some cases, creating certain beans might be resource intensive or a time consuming process. So here, @lazy notation will come in picture, which will allow you to defer the initialization of such beans until they are actually needed. So basically you are going to create the bean object on demand when it is required. So the second purpose can be improved startup performance. So if the Spring context is going to create all the beans in the starting, then there may be chance that the performance will get impacted, right? So lazy initialization can help to improve the startup performance of your Spring Boot application, and beans that are not immediately required are not initiated during the application initialization, right? So which can lead to the faster startup time. So the third purpose can be resource optimization. So if a bean represent a resource intensive operation or a component that may not be in every application flow, then the lazy initialization can be a way to optimize resources uses and reduce the memory overhead, right? So you can use lazy to reduce the memory head and also to optimize the resources, right? So like you should be very specific and you should understand the whole scenario when to go with the lazy annotation. It means you have to create the bean object on demand, right? And last purpose is kind of a circular dependency resolution. Basically @lazy can be useful in resolving the circular dependencies. So if there are like circular dependencies between the beans, so lazy initialization can helpful to break the circular reference and allow the beans to be created when needed, right? So these are the some like purposes we'll discuss. And now we are going to see how to use this lazy annotation in your Spring Boot application, right? So we will see by coding, and then I will show you how to implement it. So this is the Spring Boot project, and here you can see we have config, folder, controller, repository, and service. So to make you understand about the lazy, let's create one like fresh package with a something named lazy. And in this lazy folder, I am going to create a new Java class, let's say something with the lazy loader. Okay, so this lazy loader is a simple Java class. Okay, so let's create a constructor for this. So generate constructor. Yeah, so this is the constructor, and in constructor I want to print some output. Let's say lazy loading constructor. Okay, so yeah, so this is one class with a lazy loader, and I want to annotate this with the component. So I want that the Spring context should handle the creation of the object for this lazy loader Java class, right? So that's why I mark this class as a component. Now let me create one more Java class inside this lazy package with the name, let's say eager loader. Okay, and here let's create one constructor, and I want to print some string value, let's say eager loader constructor. Fine. And also I want to make this class as a component, so mark this with the @ component, so that I want the Spring context to handle the object for it. All right, now what we need to do, so basically if okay, so as you have seen, I have created two classes, lazy loader and eager loader, right? Now if I run my like main class, then you will see. Okay, so let me run the main class. So let's see the output. Okay, so okay, so you see that we are getting eager loader constructor is calling and lazy loading constructor is calling. It means that the Spring context has the yeah, so the Spring context is creating the bean for this eager loading and the lazy loader class, because the constructor of this class is getting invoked, and there we are displaying this string object, right? So this is yeah, so this bean object is controlled by the Spring context, and they are getting created like normally, or you can see yeah. Yep. Or like you can say that eagerly, right? So eagerly the bean object are getting created by the Spring context, because when we initialize, when we start the application, you can see that these constructors are get loaded, right? Now let me show you how we can create the bean object on demand. So I will create the bean object of this lazy loader on demand. For that I need to put a lazy annotation, right? So lazy annotation is coming from the context. Okay, and then annotation dot lazy, right? So 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 like whoever class you want to or bean to be created on demand, you can mark that class with @lazy. Then the Spring context will not handle this. It will get yeah, so like Spring context will not handle means it will not get created in the initialization of the project, right? So you need to call this on means you need to call this class, means you need to create the object on demand. Then yeah, for that you need to use @lazy. So let me run this the main method, and then I will show you the next output. We are using lazy in the lazy loader. It means this should not get display, right? Yeah, here you can see only we are getting output for eager loader constructor. Now you can see we are not getting for lazy loading constructor. It means the only eager loader class get initialized by the Spring context when the application is get initialized, right? So we are not allowing these lazy loader to get initialized. Okay, for that we are using @lazy. Now how to initialize or how to create the object of this bean. Okay, so let's understand that. For that we need to go to the main class, and here you can see we have already the context. Okay, and context contained all the object of the bean. So, and we have a get bean method which will return the bean object, and here we need to pass the class name. So my class name is lazy loader, and then lazy loader dot class. All right, and we need to import this. So this is coming from this here, and also you can use the lazy loader to get the response of this object by calling get bean object into the lazy loader. Yeah, so now you can see that we are getting the bean through the get bean method, and there we are passing the name of the bean, right? So simply by writing this, we are asking the container to create the bean object. So I have already started the application again, so let's see the output now. So in the output you can see now we are getting eager loader constructor, which is in slice in the starting when the application gets start, and also we are getting lazy loading constructor now, which we have created the bean object on demand by using the get bean method, right? Yeah, so this is the use of at the rate lazy annotation, by which we can create the bean object on demand, right? Yeah, so similar like lazy annotation you can use for the Java configuration file also. So yeah, so if you want to work with the Java configuration file, then so similar manner you can see this is the app config, right? So if you want to get the bean of all these as a lazy, then you can mark this directly, this class as a lazy annotation, then whole means beans will be loaded lazily, right? Or if you want to particular load a particular bean like lazily, then you have to provide to the particular method label, then only this bean will be get loaded lazily. Okay, and you are not marking these two, then this will be loaded eagerly. Only the math subject bean will get loaded lazily. If you want to means load all the three lazily, then you can mark here at the rate lazy, and here also at that lazy, right? Yeah, yeah, so like this is about the to understand about at the rate lazy annotation. Yeah, thank you and have a nice day.